Hey there everybody, hope you're all doing well, hope you're all having a lovely day, evening or afternoon. Steam Next Fest kicked off on the 14th of October and I have had the opportunity to play many interesting demos. And so here are 4 of them that I thought would be nice to highlight in a video. Butcher's Creek is a first-person survival horror game in the vein of Condemned Criminal Origins by David Szymanski. I'm not really sure if I'm pronouncing that name correctly. Butcher's Creek is about a man who is searching for tapes. It takes place in the same universe as the Pony Factory. Now, one of the first things that sort of sticks out with this game is that it seems to be sort of inspired by Condemned Criminal Origins, the way you're using like everyday weapons and stuff like that. The blocking can be tough, as it's tough to get the timing because I feel like the enemies sort of snapped into place sometimes, but the enemy AI can be quite stupid sometimes, very weird. Sometimes he'll just like stand across the room and shout at you for no reason and just sort of stand there until you approach him, and maybe that's meant to be like that, but sometimes if you get too close they'll do like a 180 and just turn around and start walking away for a split second, then turn back. So it's kind of janky AI. I'm really hoping they clean that up a little bit, especially on the final release, because I am enjoying this game. So you save with tapes, and your tapes are limited in use, and of course on top of that, the more tapes you have that you haven't used, the more health you're going to have as well. So it's sort of incentivized risk taking. I really liked that. The audio is insane. Everything makes a noise, especially you, but something as small as a trash can falling over or a trash bag just getting knocked is unsettling. It is tense, it is creepy. Your footsteps are insanely loud, and you move around and you bump into things, and it keeps you on edge at all times. The sound design in this game is excellent, I'm not gonna lie. It's an incredibly scary atmosphere, definitely a weird sort of like world and universe thing that they've got going on, especially with the Pony Factory. I haven't played the Pony Factory, but being a fan of David Szymanski, I really want to go and play it, and I think I might even just try it on stream sometime. But hey, this is his next game in that same sort of universe, so if you're interested, go ahead, give it a wish list, and hopefully it'll be out soon. And next up we have AI Limit by Sense Games. It's a Souls-like akin to sort of like Code Vein. It's got that kind of anime, sort of, I don't want to say cel-shaded, but it does kind of make me think of like a cel-shaded art style, mixed in with an anime art style. Very similar to Code Vein. And it's got some very good combat. I must admit, I liked the way the animations blended together. There's this really cool animation. You get 2 weapon slots, and you can swap between the 2, and just, you know, by pressing Y it'll swap between, and there's some really like slick animations of the character actually taking the weapon out. And you can swap between weapons mid combat as well, and that'll have a little bit of a unique attacking animation for swapping. There are 3 starting weapons. It's a normal like one-handed sword, 2 one-handed swords, or like dual swords I guess you can say, and a great sword. I didn't get a chance to use a great sword. I do want to go back and like start again with it, and see how that goes. There were some performance issues I noticed. It was very up and down, but I think I did see a post on the Steam forums that they would be looking into it for the demo. It did just sort of, it got in the way a couple of times. There were some pretty bad hitches, and it was quite distracting. But other than that, very solid. I found it cool that the weapons showed on the character as well. Like, I really liked that. It just sort of solidifies when you've got 2 weapons in both slots. They're both being shown on your character at the same time, even when the other is in use. Just kind of like felt right. It just, not a lot of games do that, I think the last one I can think of that did that was Wolong Fallen Dynasty. Wolong Fallen Dynasty did that. Block is introduced very, very late. You don't get a shield until like halfway, if not like 3/4 of the way through the demo. And I didn't really like how it worked, I'm not gonna lie. You sort of very rooted in place. You can move a little bit, but it's very, very slow, and it doesn't feel like it comes out fast enough. And then of course trying to do anything after blocking just seems like it takes way too long. Impacts were really, really good, I'm not gonna lie. I really, really liked the way the weapons felt when you hit the enemy. They would react really nicely. There were some good sound effects and visual effects on it as well. So yeah, there is a parry mechanic, but it's very strange. It works on a bit of a delay. You have to really know the timing of when an enemy is going to hit you or not. And so it reminds me a little bit of like Dark Souls 1 parrying in a way. It's actually very overpowered as well. It's a very fun game, I'm not gonna lie. If somebody who enjoys Souls-like, I would say this is one of the better ones. I liken it to Code Vein, but Code Vein's combat I felt was pretty much held up purely by the skills and things, which you do get skills in this one. By holding LB, you sort of like have 2 skills which are weapon skills, so there's that. It was fairly challenging. I could not beat the boss of this demo. I plan on going back and trying out with the greatsword, but I could not beat the boss of this demo. But otherwise, I really, really enjoyed it. I'm definitely going to be keeping my eye on it. I'm going to wishlist it, and I would suggest you guys do as well. And next up we've got SULFUR by Perfect Random. SULFUR is a bit of a roguelike first-person shooter with sort of like, I would say, sort of realistic gun animations, realistic gun handling to an extent as well. You play as a pastor whose congregation has sort of been attacked by this witch, and so you're delving deep into these sulfur mines to go and chase this witch so that you can lift a curse or something. And the first thing that really stands out with SULFUR when you first start playing it is going to be the art style, and then very closely is going to be the soundtrack. I just found myself like bopping to the music, even just like exploring the caves, and especially when you hit a loading screen or something, and all you've got is really the music. The design, the UI, all of that is also really, really nice. And another standout thing is going to be the weapon customization. One of the most fun things in a game for me is being able to customize a gun, adding your own scopes, adding muzzles, stuff like that. And SULFUR does it fairly well. You can attach almost anything to any gun, whether it's a sniper scope to a revolver or just a crank that allows a normal pistol to fire automatically. There's quite a bit of variety there, laser sights, things like that, and quite a bit of variety on your weapons as well. There's quite a few different weapons you can play with. I must admit, in the beginning there aren't too many, or at least should I say, it's quite hard to find different weapons. I found myself using the starter pistol for a very, very long time until eventually finding some more, and then of course if you die with those weapons on hand, those weapons are gone. But you do get some money every time you die. I'm not sure if it's a portion of your total sulfur or currency or what, but you do get some money, and the deeper you go down and the longer you play, the more currency you're gonna get. So you can still use that to purchase weapons in the hub world of the game, and the hub world has a couple of interesting little broskies, and they're all quite funny. There's actually a fair bit of dialogue. None of it is properly voiced. You get sort of like weird noises and things in place, but there's quite a bit of dialogue both both in the dungeon and in the hub world as well. Unfortunately, the game does seem to suffer from quite a few performance issues. It was very, very weird. I'm not really sure why, but there was quite a lot of stuttering, especially when firing weapons, something like the shotgun. I don't think I've got footage of it, but I found a shotgun in one of my runs, and every single time I fired it, the game would hitch. It would drop frames drastically for a split second and then shoot back up, which resulted in a very sort of unsatisfying shooting experience. And this would happen sometimes even with pistols. I'm wondering if it might be related to like a muzzle flash effect or something, but yeah, that seemed to happen. But otherwise, SULFUR is a very, very solid, very entertaining roguelike FPS, and I'm not gonna lie, it had me I kept wanting to keep going. I kept wanting to play more. There are satisfying gore effects on the goblins. When you shoot them with a big like explosion and stuff, their jibs go all over the place, reminiscent of like Quake or something. So it's very, very satisfying. I do wish there was an auto sort for your inventory, because whenever you're trying to use anything in your inventory, it can get scattered. So I do wish there was an auto sort for that. And I do hope that the performance issues can be fixed upon release. But I would say go wishlist this game, play the demo, because you're actually going to be playing it for a while. I believe it's releasing on the 28th of October, so I'm very, very hyped for that. I just hope they can tighten up that performance. Next up, we've got Kletka, and admittedly, Kletka is a bit of a strange one. It's very, very confusing and kind of hard to explain. So, my understanding of this game is that you're supposed to be playing this in co-op. You play a criminal convicted and sentenced to this giga structure, and you use Kletka, which is a really interesting elevator, I guess, that you have to provide with fuel and then constantly repair it and stuff like that. And for some reason there are bottles that are used as currency, which is very strange. And every now and then you get a floor in which you can actually purchase goods on. Now, you can also collect gears and things to upgrade Kletka to speed or hurry along your descent into this gigastructure. But the main goal of the game seems to be getting as deep into the gigastructure as possible and experiencing all the new possibilities that await you. And there are some hazards to an extent. I mean, your primary hazard is going to be traps. We're talking mines, bear traps, things like that. But you're also going to occasionally encounter monsters and bugs. Now, the bugs weren't too much of an issue. I only had trouble with them really once, where they followed me all the way back to the elevator, or Kletka. But the monster I just completely avoided. Once I saw like a glimpse of that motherfucker, I just completely avoided it. And then there were these crawling guys who came after me, but they were quite stupid. They just went straight into like mines and traps and stuff like that. Initially, when you start out, you're uncertain. You don't know what's going on. Within about an hour of playing, I very quickly fell into a routine of like get down, run around, see what I can, grab immediately, run back to the elevator, drop it off, and smack any boxes I can along the way, and then just rinse and repeat. Very, very satisfying. And what kept me going is wanting to see all the different types of rooms, all the different types of things. But admittedly, it is quite limited. Now, I am very interested to see where this game is going to go, and so I'm going to be watching it. I'm definitely going to wishlist it, and if you want to sort of like play with your friends, have a weird, creepy sort of co-op game, definitely give this a wishlist. Give this even a try if the demo is still up. Highly recommend it. And there we have it. That was 4 indie games that I played during Steam Next Fest. If you guys liked this kind of content, then leave me a comment and let me know what you thought. And if you want to see more of this sort of thing, then hit that like button and subscribe. And I'm hoping to get more out sometime soon. Thank you very much and have a lovely day.